Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's July 17th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this will wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Fridays. I will say I apologize for yesterday's video, how it just had ended abruptly. But basically, what happened was I paused the video. I went to pause the video to clear my throat, and it didn't pause. And then when I went to restart it, I paused it. And so I spent the rest of the video talking to myself. So feel like a knucklehead, but hey, things happen, and I apologize. But um, that's why part of the video was missing. Just I've had a lot of distractions lately with all this going on with me, and I guess I just thought I paused the video, and evidently it didn't pause for whatever reason. And when I went back to restart it, I actually paused it. So anyway, we missed a few of the trades yesterday. I apologize, but that's what happened. So let's move on to today's video. And you can see we did break out today to another all-time new high. We broke out of that resistance area. So we'll see if we continue higher here, or if we'll pull back inside or not, or have a failure and turn down. This market wants to go higher, it seems like, and it's interesting because at one time um, everything else was kind of moving opposite of the market, but it seems like everything's going up. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, the other coins are going up. So it's an interesting time. Um, be curious to see where we're headed here. So, um, but yeah, very positive day today. We basically had two legs up today with a two-legged correction in the middle, and you'll see that when we flip over. But here's the daily chart, and you can see we did break out and close higher. We're getting back into the over bought territory. We're not. We still have room to go higher. Sometimes you will break out of that before it'll turn down, but we're you can see where we broke out here, and it corrected sideways until we almost got back to the midline there. I'm guessing by the time it turns back up, we'll have bounced off that midline. So there it is on the daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up, and we'll wrap this week up. Okay, here's our 2000 tick chart. You can see we had a leg up, and then we had this correction in the middle. Is clearly a two-legged correction, and then we turned higher, and you can see we had almost two perfect measured legs. We went a little bit higher there, but most of our resistance was right where the measured move was. So that would have been a great target for you today. It was a clear trend channel working up here as well, both times. We did have some news at 7:30 this morning, some high volatility news, so you did have to mark that area out this morning. I can't seem to get that box. It should have covered a little more of that, but yep, there it is. And so you had to wait till a little bit after 7:30 before you could take your first trade. And anyway, there it is. Let's zoom in a little bit. People are always asking me to zoom in more. It's sometimes I don't realize it's harder to see it, and I forget to zoom in. But we were working up in this channel here, and then we got a break here and moved a little higher, and then we had a first entry, and we turned back down, and when it broke higher here, that's a second entry long. I would say that's also a triple test. Very strong bullish bar. I like going long there. You probably didn't get a runner there, unfortunately, but there it is. If this bar would have been a little more bullish, maybe you enter there, but there's still some resistance there, so I think you have to pass that up. I don't think it's just the signal bar, or I'd have probably marked it green, but I think you have to sit there and wait on that one. And then we had another second entry here, but way too much stem on that one. So there's actually a second entry here. Notice the new high, and you went higher first entry, and then it turned down, and then opened and went back higher. So when it broke above on that engulfing bar, above that bar, that's a second entry. I didn't mark that one because it's right into the overnight highs. It's a little sideways and congested, but it's right at the key entry point. We already had a high in too. So maybe you go long there. There is a triple test there as well. But I think you're better off just to kind of sit tight on that one because it could backfire on you. It turns out to be a great move up, another two legs up. Not quite good enough to go short there yet. Another second entry here, but the signal bar is not good enough. And then finally, you actually get a double top here and then a triple test, and that's also a first entry, second entry. So you got a triple test and a second entry short. I like going short there. All you get's a scalp out of it. Turns out this is a trading channel across here. Then you get a triple test and second entry long. Of course, by now you're not really looking for second entries. We're just playing the range. Again, I marked this one green because it's an inside bar. And so, but because it's a range and it's bouncing off the lows, I think you can take that trade. And then this trade, I didn't mean to mark that trade. I meant to mark this one, and I marked them both. I put it in the wrong place, and I forgot to delete that one. But there's just not enough room to get out on that one. You can see, and it fails on you. And then you do get a lower high here. And it's the same thing. I marked it green because it's not the actual signal bar per our rules. But on these range rules, if there's just a tick or two difference and it's setting up on the off the support or resistance and you got plenty of room to scalp out, you can generally take those. They're not perfect setups, but you can generally take them. So then we're running down. There's another second entry here. Looks like I missed that one. Working down. You do get a close outside, but it's still a second entry. First entry, second entry. It's a little congested, but I still think you can take that trade. You're still trending higher there. So I think you can take that. That's a nice little move. And then there's a second entry down here, but it doesn't trigger until it looks like congestion. So just kind of sit tight on that one. Pulls back here, first entry, and another second entry, but the signal bar is not any good. Then this is just two sideways. And here you get a first entry and you get a second entry, but you got congestion there again. But you also don't get a break and new low here, so you might enter on this one because now you have your break and a new low, and it is right off the midline there. I like entering there, but then you get a higher low, which would probably be an even better entry, and you can see it kind of took off then. This is two sideways, first entry, and not a good enough signal bar, and then we turn back down. That's just a first entry, and then you're working sideways again. And so you would want to play range rules here. This one, I don't think you want to go short, even though there's room to get out. It's not much, you could bounce off that EMA like you did. I'm sorry, the trend line like you did, and you probably wouldn't have got out of that trade. You would have got stopped out before it came back, and you still wouldn't have got enough. Just make sure. I don't think there's enough room there. You can see there, well, there's exactly enough room, so it looks like it might have worked if you took it, but I don't, we should be going higher coming off the trend line here, even though we're working sideways, so I would skip that. I'm almost inclined to go long there, but just in case it turns down again, there's not enough room. It does break out and comes back and tests that low again, and notice how it closes outside and gives you that higher low. I like going long there. It's basically a higher low on a breakout of this tight range. There's another higher low here, but you really got to go long right into the high of the move, and that's not a good idea. We turn back down here, and you get a first entry, and then it breaks lower and turns up. This is a second entry long. The only reason I marked this green is because you're going long right into a double top there. We're in a strong downtrend, and it's coming off the key entry point, so you're probably going to go higher here. So I like possibly still taking that trade, but the reason I marked it green is because it's right into that high right there. And you can't take this one because you're still in the downtrend and you don't have a break in new low or a higher low or anything. You got to wait on something there. Here it's just a first entry, and then now a second entry right here. Notice the new high, first entry, and it turns back down, turns up. So a break above that's a second entry long. And then you get the close outside at a new high here, and you're way away from the EMA. So maybe you trade that back to the EMA, but again, you're always, and you've gone more than a measured move too. So that's another, you see that line across there. But I think you're better off to see if you get a lower high, which comes here, and you still have room to get out. And so that turns out to be a pretty good move, and that takes you into 230. There's actually another second entry short right here when it breaks below that inside bar, but that's a little late, especially considering it's an inside bar, and we're not going to take that. We're not trading range rules here, so you want to skip away from that inside bar like that. So there it is. Not a lot of trades today, nothing like we had yesterday, but there's still some trades here, and several of them were off a key entry point. Turned out to be really great moves. And, it's hit or miss if you get a runner. Sometimes you're going to get one, sometimes you're not. A lot of times it just depends on how you manage your runner as well. So if you're willing to take on more risk and give it more room, then you're more likely to catch one. And if you're putting your stop on your runner at break even or break even plus one, there's a good chance you're going to get stopped out unless it's at the key entry point on a strong trend or something. I almost always try to go for a runner at the key entry point on strong trends because that's where generally, if you go back here and look, where did all the biggest moves come from? They're at the key entry points. So notice this big move here, right off the key entry point. Big move here, right off the key entry point. Here, big move, right off the key entry point. Even once you got a break, it's still at the key entry point, and look at it go. So that's where all your big moves come from. And so anytime you can get in at the key entry point with a good setup and get a runner, that's where you want to try to pick up one. So anyway, there it is. Not much else you can say about today. Again, it's two legs up with a two-legged correction in the middle. Let me zoom in here and show you this where you can see this. But this channel is played out, and then you get a two-legged correction, and you get a new channel. And so look for that to be close to a measured move. It doesn't always work out a measured move, but when it does, sometimes it's to the exact tick, and it's amazing how accurate this stuff is. So we're close there, but clearly two legs up. So hopefully you can see that. Anyway, there it is. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it next week. I'll see you Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.